All right, ladies. How's everyone doing? Can you guys all see us? Let's see. I think we've got it. I think we are on. Let's see. Can you see us?
I'm looking for the
Okay.
group real quick. Snow Coastal Sisters.
That's us.
We are live.
Awesome.
Yes, we are.
Oh, we're getting this down. Finally. Very cool. Yay. Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. I'm super excited to once again be able to chat with the awesome Susan Palmer Wood. Real quick, I met Susan through her amazing son-in-law, who works at the Keller Williams office under Scrubs Estates, and he had said, you would really like my mother-in-law, and so he connected us, and gosh darn it, he was totally right on with that. So I love her. She's amazing. Susan is a master NLP certified holistic health coach, mental and emotional release practitioner, and so much more. So tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll roll on into our Connecting to Influence series.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really great to be here. And this quarantine life, it's interesting. I was just telling her I've been working all day, and then I fell asleep with my granddaughter on my chest, and then went, it's time to go. So I'm excited to be here, and that I woke up in perfect timing, which is what always
right. I'm perfectly ready too. Like, how did you do that?
Yeah, I'm like looking at my hair, going, okay, here we go. I don't have mascara on my face. It's a good day. I'm grateful.
It's a great day.
It is. So, yeah, I use neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, as a way to help people get in alignment with themselves. Because so often we are conditioned to do, to have, so that we can be happy, and then maybe we'll be who we're meant to be. And we have it backwards, because like Tony Robbins says, success without fulfillment is failure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living proof of that. I had the multiple six-figure job. I had the big house. I had all the stuff. And I was doing all the things that society said is supposed to make me happy. And I was absolutely miserable and fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And it was because I was really fulfilling other people's idea of what success meant. And I didn't even know that. So I help people really who are anxious, overwhelmed, and frustrated, really get to the root of what's going on. Like, I know I can be strong, and I know that there's more to life, and I don't know what's holding me back. Mm-hmm. Get to the root of that, and we help them quickly release it so that they can be more of who they are and achieve authentic success.
Yeah, that's awesome. So awesome. So valuable for sure. So take us through, you said anxious and overwhelmed as what you were feeling. I think a lot of us can relate to that right now, especially those of us with school children or grown children that are still living at home. His room is like right on the other side of this wall, so I can't say it too loud. Okay, gosh. I think one thing for me that I keep forgetting is, like, I'm not the only one in this house going through this, right? So when I get frustrated and I'm just like, oh my gosh, children, like, we have a dishwasher and you're not looking at her, put your dishes in the dishwasher. Like, they're going through that, like, I don't know what to do phase right now too. So tell us, what are some things that we can do with the folks that, our family that we live with, to not damage these relationships, because we are anxious and stressed and overwhelmed, and the uncertainty is causing some really strange emotions and behaviors in all of us. So tell us, what can we do?
Yeah, it really is. And I'm so glad that you shared that, that we have to remember that the other people in our home are going through not the same thing that we are, the same circumstance, but they may even be going through it differently than we are. Mm-hmm. We're all different people. But just understanding that It was the CEO of Heinz that said, it's not that we're working from home, it's that we're at home trying to work in a crisis.
Yeah.
So just understanding that. And the other thing that you said is now we're at home and how do we not damage our relationships? Because for many of us, there are things going on at home that we're able to ignore because we go to work and they go to school. And then we have this much time to tolerate each other. And then we sleep. And then we get up and we go to work and they go to school and then we tolerate each other.
Yeah.
And now we're in the same household and we want to kill each other a lot of the times. So there are a lot of things that we can do. The thing that I'd really like to focus on is how to connect with each other using NLP-based rapport. See, because a lot of us are talking, a lot of us are communicating, same storm, different boats, totally. And we're not connecting. So we're talking, but we're not connecting. How do we do that? So I'm just going to focus on that one topic. So the first thing that I'd like to say is that in order for you to connect, it's important for you to connect with yourself first. So when you notice that you're like, rah, then your adult child or your partner or whoever might do something then. And then you're like, rah, and you think it's that thing, but it was really all of the other things that happened during the day or your own of mind, whatever was going on. So, we put on this happy face to connect with people at work or in networking meetings or whatever, but then we take it off and we're like, rah, at home. So centering ourselves, and breathing. And then the next thing is to actually be present with the person that you want to connect with or connect with, right? So often we have so much on our mind that we're squeezing in our kids or our partner or whatever in between thoughts, in between tasks, in between dishes. And so we're talking as we're moving or as our face is in our phone. So when we want to connect and influence, right? Influence for a better relationship, influence for whatever result it is for you. My daughter just brought me coffee. My adult
your adult daughter
too, yes. Perfect timing since I just woke up. Right. So please forgive me. So we are so distracted that we aren't looking at the person in front of us. And I remember this so powerfully. And Marilyn, tell me if you can remember this. When I was working at Microsoft, and it could be anywhere, it was a culture of go, 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 fast, 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 know all the answers. And I would pop into my manager's office, and every other person that I've worked with would be typing on the computer, looking at the computer while I'm talking, and then like, or give me an answer or whatever. And then I'd bolt, right? And they would come in and I'd do the same thing. Then I had this manager and I walked in and he was facing this way and he turned and he put his hands together and he looked at me. And he was just quiet. He said, "How can I help you?" And I was like, whoa. He gave me his undivided attention. He turned around, looked at me, and I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten how good that felt. He is still, like 10 years later, one of my very favorite managers, right? But think about a time when your boyfriend or your child or someone, even when you and I connected, when you felt seen and heard and present. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I felt valued and that what I had to say mattered. And that it feels amazing. And I am like so guilty of, just doing other things. And then my kids, talking to me and I'm just, and in my head, I'm already thinking about the next thing I'm going to be doing. And so they do, I guarantee they feel like, okay, yeah, we take the back seat to, mom's work and, whatever mom is, whatever project she's on, we take a back seat to that. And I know they feel that quite a bit. And I don't blame them. Like, I get that. And so this week, especially before, we even talked about like what we were going to talk about, and get into the weeds here. I really made it a point several times this week to just stop and just be present and just listen. And I think it kind of like freaked my kids out a little bit. Like my son was like, oh, wait, she made eye contact with me. Yeah. So, and so it was interesting. And for me, I felt like a little awkward, like our eyes are like connecting for like more than 5 seconds. Oh, so you're totally right. Totally right about that.
Beautiful. I'm going to say that as kids and so as parents, or okay, which way do I think about this? All of us, right? Like we are all toddlers walking around in adult bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And all we want to know is, do you see me? Do you hear me? And does what I say matter?
Mm-hmm.
So as kids and people, it's like just paying attention to them and then valuing and seeing them for who they are is so powerful. So I'm applauding you and loving that you even noticed the response, right? That's so important. And if you can give that to your kids or to your to anyone, because that's all we want, then all of the other things that they do to get the attention, do you see me? Will you pay attention to me? Starts to come down.
Mm-hmm.
About rapport that I'm going to talk about is connecting with people. It's lowering the barrier to communication, and it's connecting, because what it is it's connecting with people on an unconscious level. And I'm kind of going out of order a little bit. Rapport is essentially matching and mirroring someone else on an unconscious level so that people identify that you are like them on an unconscious level. And people like people who are like themselves, right? So when you're listening and you're making contact, then people feel connected, and then when you use rapport, you're lowering the barrier of communication, and then you can start to influence. So that's your why. Now, rapport is essentially matching and mirroring. So all that means is, can you raise your right hand? Will you raise your right hand? Okay. Okay. So now if I do this, right, like we are mirroring and we are matching, right? Now, if someone raised their hand when you're talking to them, you're not going to do that. But there are other things that you can do to match and mirror, and you're not mimicking, but you're matching and mirroring. So when you and I first connected, oftentimes what people do when they connect is they look for something in common.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're like, friend. And then it lowers the barrier of connection and communication. And then we get in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find with people when they are in that flow is that they start having the same gestures. Like if you see someone at a coffee shop or at a restaurant and they're totally into each other and they're flowing back and forth, you'll see their mannerisms are similar. The way that they sit, if they're both sitting forward or they're both leaning back or they're both crossing their arms. The pace of their speech is going to be the same. The volume is going to be the same. They start matching and mirroring each other on an unconscious level because they're rapport. They're in that flow. And once you're in that, again, it's that likability factor goes up. Why not do that with the people that are in our home? Because then they're more able to listen to what it is you want to say. What I really love about this, what I'm about to teach you, is that in order for you to match and mirror what someone is doing, you have to get out of you and focus on them. And that's sometimes all people want. And it's all unconscious. And it's not manipulative, because you're in it to connect so that you can get a point across, so that you can influence your kids to help them or your partner connect, right? So communication, I want people to write this down. There, you connect 55% of all communication is physiology. 55%. So while you and I, or anybody, might be connecting to find something that's in common, those are words. We're looking for the words. That can take a long time. But 55% is physiology. So what does that mean? Physiology means that if you walk in and your kid is like sitting like this on the couch, and you come in and you're like, "Whoa," you're out of rapport.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe across the room, because you never want to be like right in front of your kid when you want to talk to them, right? But maybe you're slouching a little bit. Maybe if you get really close and you start noticing them pull away, all of a sudden you pay more attention to their spatial needs. And you just pay attention to when they start pulling back and when they feel comfortable. So you match their space, right? If they are crossing their arms, then maybe you cross your legs. Again, you want to match and mirror on an unconscious level, because 55% of communication is physiology.
Mm-hmm.
When we get out of quarantine, it can also be like, if they touch your shoulder, then, maybe you reach back out to them. Or if they have a hard handshake, then you have a hard handshake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're matching and mirroring their physiology. When they pick up something to drink, you wait a few minutes and you pick up something to drink. So again, it's not mimicking, it's very subtle and it's very unconscious, because people like people who are like them.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, you walk into a room, you just want to match what they're doing. If it's super casual, if it's super up straight, if they're tight, what is it? Match that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other way to match their physiology?
Yeah, no, I think as far, even the cadence of speech, I think is also really important, because I tend to be very, okay, let's go, and my kids are more laid back. And so as soon as I open my mouth, like, hey, how was your day today? It's too fast, and they're just like, oh, God, Mom, calm down. So for me, I have to, it's really a lot of awareness that has to take place when I'm trying to communicate. And it's not something that honestly comes super natural to me, because I just am me and I perform as me.
Exactly. And then rapport gets you out of you temporarily to get into their model of the world. So another physiology might be, if they're doing this, doing the kitchen, or they're cooking something, you come alongside them and you stand this way and you just talk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just matching them. It's just making you comfortable. What you were talking about, cadence, is tone. Tonality is actually 38% of communication. So we said 55% is physiology, 38 is just the tone. Tone means the pace that you speak, just like blah, 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 blah. So imagine someone from New York blah, 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 is talking to someone maybe from Texas, who's really slow, and you want to pull your hair out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Past those cross-talking city slippers.
Right.
Again, you want to match who you're talking with, and getting out of your own way, stepping into their model of the world. Establish trust and connection. It's also, so it's speed and it's volume. So if we're talking and someone's got a lower pitch, then you have a lower pitch, right? Or quieter. So again, you want to match the tonality and the speed. And 7% is, and that just reminds me, there have been so many times where I'm having a quiet conversation and then my husband comes walking in from work and he's like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like so out of rapport, because it's like, read the room, dude. I love you, honey. We've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
So again, and matching that with your kids and just getting into their model of the world. And it's also energizing, because you're not so focused on yourself. You're focused on the other person, which can be really. So 7% is words. Now in quarantine, we can match some physiology through Zoom, but a lot of it now is going to be tone and words. In fact, tones are so important. We came up with emojis to give our text tone. That's how important tone is, right? Now, words are something that we talked about earlier. When you want to find something that you have in common, you look for those things. Those are words. Other ways to connect on words would be if a person has a particular word that they use a lot. Like I say awesome a lot, and I say so a lot. That's my bridge word. Then if you start incorporating that into your vernacular, into how you're talking, it's an unconscious sign that you are like them. Even picking up and listening to the words that you're using, or if they say something to you like, oh, Mom, I'm just so tired. And you're like, God, why are you so lazy? Or didn't you get enough sleep or whatever is out of rapport. But if you go, oh, you're tired, huh? What's going on? Just using their words, because words are labels for a meaning in our minds. For example, if I said, give me 5 words that mean dog to you, and you came up with 5 words, like give me 5 words that mean dog to you.
Oh gosh, there's so many. Okay. I can use the ones that I use for my dog. We call her Piggy. We call her Beastie because she's like a teddy bear. And then of course, there's your names of dogs. Furball. I can't say some of the other ones because they're not appropriate. But there's yeah. I don't normally say, look at that dog. I'll say, oh my gosh, look at that German Shepherd, or look at that little Shih Tzu, so I refer to them as by breed.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if I said, give me 5 words that mean dog, then I might say like unconditional love, lots of dog hair, foster, adopted, so we're saying the same word, but the picture in our mind is probably different. Yeah. So when you want to connect with someone, and it's almost like, so in real estate, let's say that someone says, I'm looking for a magnificent, or I'm looking for a spacious house with a magnificent view, blah, blah, blah. And then the realtor says, oh, I've got a really big house that's got a great view. It's like, okay, kind of maybe tell me more about that. Mm-hmm, but if in that conversation, you're like, later, I found this house that's so spacious. You're going to love all the space in this room. And the view is magnificent. Just wait until you see it. They're like, you're speaking my language, unconsciously, right? Because you don't know what spacious means to them, or what magnificent means the same as great. It might not to them. So using those words, right? The same with communicating with your kids. So words are only 7%, but when you're going to use the words, then use them powerfully. When you're also connecting, words are so important. When you say the word but, it negates everything before that. So if I was to say, I love you, Marilyn, but you're just way too busy. You're like, you don't love me. What's wrong? Wait a minute. What's wrong? Mm-hmm. Everything before that. So if you said to your kid, oh, I love you, but you're driving me crazy. All they hear is driving me crazy. Mm-hmm. But is really powerful. The words always and never are also extremes, because no one, which is also an extreme, is always doing something or never doing something. It is highly likely that there is a time when they are not doing something, right? They are doing something that you think they aren't. So watch out for those extremes, because people feel that, like, I can't do anything right with you. You always think I'm doing this wrong, right? So the words that you choose can be really powerful. And the other thing I want to say about this is the word understand can be off-putting, because we are different people, and sometimes people can feel like you can't understand me because this is so big and you haven't been in my shoes. But if you say things like, oh, it sounds like you're sad, or it sounds like you're frustrated, or what you're telling me is this, I can appreciate that, or I respect that, or I can see how if I was going through that, I might feel that way, right? So just understanding, and the only way you can do any of this is to be centered yourself, to take the time to breathe, take the time to scream and write and dance around and listen to the music and everything that you need to do, so that you can be present for 5 minutes or 15 minutes or an hour or whatever, to connect, to figure out what's going on with them by matching them physically with your phone, and then with the words that you're using.
So Susan, so your kid comes in and they're freaking out. They're super mad. Obviously, we don't want to mirror that. So talk us through like de-escalation. Like what can we do if, we're just approached with anger?
Yeah. So actually, thank you for that question of where you don't want to match and mirror. Has there ever been a time when you were like freaking out and then someone is like, just calm down. It's okay. What happened?
Many times.
What happens?
I did calm down. I was just, but at the same time, I'm like, don't tell me to calm down.
Yes, that's it. Right. So that pisses me off when my husband's like, I'm like, I'll give you. Are you kidding? So again, it's out of rapport. So the way you're influencing is when you match and mirror them, you match what they're doing. And then once you notice that you're in the flow, because then you notice that they're starting to match you, then you can lead them where you want them to go. So if they're freaking out, then you could be like, what's going on? And they're talking fast, then you can be like, tell me what's going on, or what happened. And you can match their breathing. Or their breathing, but you can match their gestures, and then you can go, okay, I hear, hey, tell me more. Let's talk this out. Where, stand up if they're standing up, and match their physiology, and then start to lead them by deep breathing, and by starting to bring your voice down, and by matching the words that they're using, so that they feel heard, so that they feel seen, so that they feel that what they're trying to say matters. But if you go completely opposite and you're like, calm down, or you're just like, breathe with me, that's too far of a jump. So when you match some of them, now, of course, you don't want, if they're throwing things, you don't want to throw things, but maybe you can. Maybe that will snap them out. Like, if they throw, and then you like, I mean, it actually can be a state breaker, that if they are throwing a fit and you're like, oh my God, that's how my day is going too. And, tell me what's going on, is much different than, tell me more. It's like, it's so out of rapport. And I do this with clients all the time. They're like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then they go, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like totally paying attention. I'm like, And then it starts getting, then it starts slowing down. And then, like we break through and they start to laugh and they start following me. And so it's pacing and leading. So it's matching and mirroring, and then pacing and leading. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yes, totally. That's what I was, because we obviously don't want to keep them in that state. But again, it's like my go-to whenever my kids are like, oh my gosh, I'm like, okay, whoa. Like I always try and like, okay, let's break this down. Like, and so I'm like, well, maybe I'm not doing that right. Like maybe I'm, trying to like tell them what to do and not really giving them permission to feel all the feels. And, that's not nice. I think this whole quarantine thing, one thing I've noticed is, just how naturally narcissistic we can all be, and not in a malicious way, but just in an unconscious way, because we're just so used to kind of being in our own world and doing our own thing. And so that's been like my biggest breakthrough this whole stay home session, was really like, wow, like how can I really engage more and really, be present in the moment when I'm working on what's a job, and not just be thinking, what am I going to do next? What am I going to eat when I watch my Golden Girls tonight? Like, it's just been nice to really kind of gear down and get a little bit more control over my mind in that respect.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, because we're used to going to work and doing our thing and then coming home and having some autonomy and some independence. And a lot of that is we're just learning to flex. And finding those spaces. It's also a great time for you to understand, like, what do you need and then what do other people need. But the one thing, actually, let me back up, is when you said, whoa, let's figure that out. And you're like, that's not giving them space to feel. We learned early on that it's not okay to feel our feelings, right? Because the parents are just doing the best that we can. And what would it be like to ask questions and not even give advice. Like, I
Right.
remember one time, my 22-year-old son was early on in the quarantine. So he goes to Wazoo, and they canceled, he's on quarantine. He's not going to go back into a physical room. He couldn't go out and hang out with his friends, but he was here for spring break, and he was on the couch, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so bored. And he was in a bad mood because his friends had done something else. And I'm like, well, do you want to go hiking? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do that? Why don't we do this? He's like, no, no, no. I'm like, well, Jacob, what's his name? Jacob.
We won't say anything.
He's not going to. Anyway, you are responsible. You get to choose how you feel. And I'm like, get all happy, like, because I'm frustrated because he is bored. And then, so then he got up and left, and I got up in a huff, and then I went, oh, I did it again.
Right?
I didn't even give him permission to complain about this crappy situation. And so I apologize. I'm like, I am so sorry. You have every right to feel every feeling during this.
Yeah.
And I don't have, he goes, it's just, you try and fix me. I don't need fixed. And like, you're so right. I'm so sorry. So let me know if there's anything I can do to help you.
Yeah.
But asking them questions like, I don't know, what do you want help with that? Sometimes they don't, or just asking, like, and they're freaking out and they're angry and they come in and it's like, wow, what can I do for you? What do you need? What's going on?
Yeah.
And let them feel, oh my gosh, oh, you feel that way. It's just such, and then they're like, oh, you see me, you hear me. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just the bond that you create just through rapport and connecting is so important. And as a parent, we do want to have influence to guide them and lead them, but they are their own people. So the more we focus on rapport, the more we actually see them for who they are and not in our own world of what we want them to be. Because so often we just, and when I was in corporate America and I was going at the speed of light and I was burning out and all of that stuff, like I even forgot how to parent. I just knew how to tell them what to do. But you can imagine how well that went over. I mean, there was a time when my daughter and I couldn't even be in the same room together. And now we're in quarantine and like we can't get enough of each other.
Yeah.
So it's magic.
That's so awesome. So awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, we are at our 30-minute mark here. I know we started just a few minutes late, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop a comment. Do we have any questions at this point in time? Anybody need a little tips on what they're dealing with, and maybe some ideas on how you can communicate a little bit better with your family right now?
I love how Tara says, I think as a mom, you want to fix their problems when all they want to do is vent.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So often.
Yeah.
Feel heard because we just keep everything bottled up and sometimes we just need to get it out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, if they'd like to, if anyone watching this would like to put their email, I don't have my email opt-in going. Actually, I do. You can add your email to my website, but what I'd like to do is send a worksheet that actually helps you identify, some of the preferred words that people use. Because what I didn't talk about was people's preferences for communicating visually, auditorily, or kinesthetically. It's another way of connecting. So if people communicate visually, they use the words, oh, I see what you mean. Right? Or, oh, I hear ya, or, oh, I feel ya. And when you match those predicates or those things, that's another way of unconscious communicating. I can send you a worksheet that I do for my workshops on rapport that just reminds you of 55% of communication is physiology, 38 is tonality, and 7% is words, and then some tips on how to do that. So if you'd like to put your email in, I'm happy to send you the guide.
Awesome. Cool. Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, if we don't have any more comments or questions, I will let you get back to your baby and enjoy your evening, drink your coffee, and just have some quiet time. And thank you again so much for lending us your brilliant mind and helping us through this crazy time. I just think you're amazing, and I look forward to having you on the next live event with us.
Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks for the opportunity to share this information. I'd love to have questions or comments, and have a beautiful night.
Yes, you too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.